Hello again. Today's footage was from the 18th, so about 10 days ago. And, well, 10 days ago as of recording. um, the nice part about March is that things start to wake up. So these are some almond trees that my dad had bought for us. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but this is a company who transports wood chips and sawdust from the sawmills, and when their trucks get to their station, they are weighed, and if they weigh too much for road limits, then they dump the excess until they're down to their limit and then deliver it to whoever's buying it. The interesting thing is that they don't do anything with that, so they just give it away for free. So Emily and I went and shoveled a trailer full to spread in one of the muddy spots that we have, and that's what you can see here. That was one of the chores that I got taken care of on the 18th, was actually working on spreading that out a little bit and using the tractor to drive around and smash that down into the mud. The first thing we had to do, though, was the biggest downside to living off-grid the way we are is that our sewage is not something that we just get to flush away and be done with. So we're going to rearrange things and use this little Ranger trailer. It's an old 87 Ford Ranger that I bought from a friend a long time ago, and I was planning originally to turn around. It was a two-wheel drive truck, and I was planning on converting it to a four-wheel drive truck, and that just turned out to be a much larger, complicated issue than I had originally thought. So it ended up becoming a trailer bed, and there's been a couple different variations of it. So as far as the sewage, though, our the way we handle it is we empty the camper trailer into a transfer tank, which is this IBC tote. This is the third version of transfer tank that we have used, and then we take that over to the one of the state parks that charges us $5 to dump during camping season. When it's outside of camping season, they actually don't charge anything. So we end up not counting the cost of fuel and materials to, take care of this. Our sewer bill is basically like $20 a year, which that part's actually kind of nice. Eventually we do have plans to put a septic system on our property, but it just hasn't happened yet. There's a few other things that have to happen in first. So right now I'm just working on backing this into place where it will basically rest. Since it's a 275-gallon tank, it handles more than the trailer, so we get it about half full before we take it to dump, and then dumping is pretty simple. But anyway, so at this point Emily was realizing that she has never actually done this herself, and one of the things about trying to be self-sufficient is that we are trying to make sure that we're prepared for whatever, and there might be the time where maybe I've got a broken leg and can't go do this, or maybe I'm sent away on a business meeting, or heaven forbid, I'm not here anymore. So I'm taking a few minutes to kind of walk her through the process and what needs to happen. But as you saw, I put the bucket on the tractor after we loaded the into the little trailer, and then I'll be working on flattening out that sawdust, and it actually worked quite well. It didn't firm things up as much as I had hoped, but it definitely firmed up things up enough that it was much better to drive over. It wasn't as swampy and messy. So right now I'm just gonna literally drive back and forth and kind of scrape forward and back drag and take advantage of the fact that the tractor weighs around 6,000 pounds and just use the tires and the tires to churn things into the mud, and then the bucket to just keep smoothing it out. And it worked, like I said, it worked pretty well to get things firmed up enough that I could drive over it with the tractor without worrying about sliding and getting stuck. Not quite enough that I was confident I could drive over it with the truck at this point. And so I ended up actually deciding that it needed some rock, so we got a load of 3" minus rock and spread that out in the worst part of it. And I figure we'll probably start going, I don't know, maybe every week, every other week or something, to get sawdust, because we can use it to build trails and we can use it for the gardens and whatever. And it comes in pretty handy for a lot of stuff. But so now I've got to trade back and put the forks back on the tractor because I'm going to go work on the mill. Although I did admittedly get sidetracked. I was enjoying the fact that we'd had a few days of dry, and the ground was actually a little bit on the firm side, so I figured I would spend a little bit of time working on the dirt to make sure that I didn't have to try and take care of and fix the problem from continuing. So I got to here and realized, I should just use the backhoe, and I should dig this ditch out a little bit so you can see there's a whole lot of water there. And so I'm just trying to dig that back down a little bit. This portion had settled enough that it wasn't flowing as well as designed. And I never did get around to finishing the grade work for this area because the grading blade that we had bought, the bolts sheared off, which I still am rather blown away by that. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll eventually get another grading blade for the tractor, or I'm trying to decide if it's worth, because it'll be about $4,000 for the grading blade that we actually want, and we plan on getting an excavator. And if we get an excavator big enough to have a 3-way or 6-way, technically it's called a 6-way bucket, then it's only about a $6,000 upgrade to just add the 6-way blade, which would be far more functional than the grading blade on the tractor. The advantage is the tractor can move about 6 times faster than the excavator, but I don't know, the excavator would definitely do a better job of it. So you can see I'm trying to just keep things smoothed out a little bit. When I dug this ditch out last year, one of the challenges I had is I left things piled up for too long and it created problems. And so I'm trying to, while this is a little bit soppy and wet mud, just spread that out a little bit to fill in some of the spots to hopefully keep water from collecting and pooling as much, which will help allow the road to get a little bit more solid again, so that as I throw stuff down on it, we'll be able to keep it nice and firm. And here I'm actually taking it and putting it on the far side of the road. And you can see it doesn't take much to dig that out. It's just a matter of a little bit of time. This is one of those times where the backhoe would really be improved on, or the work would be improved on and sped up by having a mini excavator. But that's okay. It is what it is. And here I was trying to keep that rock, because rocks are still difficult to find on the property. So any chance I get to keep a rock, I do. I ended up putting it in the there's a little bit of a rocks around one of the filbert clusters, so I ended up putting it over there. And we're almost to the camping area, and I decided that was probably about as far as I was going to be able to do today. So now I wanted to try and spread that out, kind of flatten it, which I should have known I was putting it on a wet spot, so it didn't really benefit me any to smooth this out at the moment. But you can see the two log sections on the mill back there. I had already started in the last video and got, I think, the first two cuts off of it, but I ended up picking up the pallet here so I could take and stack things. And I got one cut in and realized I was gonna need to trim this big guy a little bit. And at this point, it's just a matter of working on the mill. I take it back. I hadn't started on this. These are the first cuts. That's why the title of the video is Beginning the Milling of the Biggest Log Yet. And a lot of these offcuts, you can see I'm just kind of piling them up here on the ground, and I use them to drive on because this area turned out to be far more muddy than anticipated. I will eventually take all of the sawdust that is over there on the far side of the mill and spread that around, and we'll probably add some gravel. But I will probably end up doing that after I take all of the offcuts here on the left and get them situated and cut up into firewood pieces. And I decided I didn't need this at the moment, so no point in keep it on there because I need to be able to turn the mill, this first log, and this was a little bit of a scary endeavor because that particular that section of log is calculated to weigh about 2,200 pounds or so. I mean, I can barely lift that to get it onto the. So I guess it's just under 2,000 pounds because the tractor's rated to only lift about 1,700. But that is a very, very, very big chunk of wood. And this is about where the battery died, which actually worked out fairly decently because this is about where I ended up calling it for the night. I didn't get too much further on this particular day, so that'll be it for today. But thank you as always for watching. God bless you and yours, and stay safe out there.